Good morning. How is everyone?
Morning.
Aren't we having a great time? Beautiful weather? Except for those that are like me that go, it should never get below 70, ever. Well, we're going to have our invocation by Pastor Sean Thomas and our Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Lible.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father God, I thank you for this day that you've given us, Lord, this time and opportunity to take care of business, dear God. And Lord, I ask now that you have your hand upon this commission this morning, God, that you lead and guide and direct them, dear God, that, dear God, the decisions they make please you, Lord. God, I ask you to have your hand upon this county, God. God, we see the challenges that we face, God, and we know that every day they seem to be greater. But God, I'm thankful to be able to stand today and to be able to say, God, that we know you're greater than any problems we face. So God, I pray now for this county that you bless. God, give us the leadership that we need. God, give us the wisdom that we need. And God, I pray that we'll take it and we'll run with it. And God, that you'll be pleased with all that's said and all that's done. I ask all these things in the name above every name, the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Saying something over there. Yep, we have. Yes, as I was reminded, we lost a very wonderful man, John Eubanks. I think most everybody in here knew him. He was a good commissioner, probably one of the best commissioners I've ever heard tell of. But, be with their family because he's going to be, well, he can't be replaced. It's just going to be a void that'll be in their lives forever. Gentlemen, have you had time to look at the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of minutes of October 9th, 2018 regular meeting.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, have proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so moves. Now, we're going to have some very special presentations today. I think I'll start with Miss Myers. I know she's here.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff, Clerk of Courts, and Susan. Glad to be here. Glad to be here to discuss the end of year and unspent revenues. You all know, but perhaps the audience is not aware, that our office, we earn our money by the different tasks we do for state agencies and county and city government. And we're expanding that a little bit to other areas. But all that to say this, at the end of our fiscal year, unspent revenues that we've earned, we are required by law to give back to taxing authorities. So you will be receiving a check later this week, I believe. It's being cut on Friday or Thursday. Or perhaps we ACH to you guys. So we're delighted to have had a good year. Just to share with you, please don't expect this every year. We're returning right under $500,000, 497,000 and some change. Couple of things happened this year. We had a 19% increase in our revenues. We attribute a lot of that to county held certificates. They have gone up over 25%. So that's a huge win for the county. As you recall, these are those certificates that aren't sold at the tax sale, at the certificate sale. So they sit, no one's paid those taxes. And we've had a new interest in the past couple of years, and it's just grown since we've put those online and made them available year-round online for easy search engines. And then also our state agency budgets. We have been serving more people. That's gone up 15%. So I say to you all, a big decision you made maybe 15 months ago to remove the BTR pressure from our office, which brought you very little funding. As you recall, it was really in our research, we indicated that it's a loss to all of us. Not having to do that allows us to serve our customers quicker and faster, and we are seeing more of the Volusia County folks coming in to Putnam. We're seeing more of Alachua County, and also with the closing of the Hastings office, we're seeing a lot of St. Johns County West coming into our offices for the state agency types of activities, which is your tags, your hunting and fishing, your concealed weapons, your driver's license, and things like that. Birth certificates now we do as well. So all of that has resulted in a larger amount of money unspent. Plus, we had untimely, it's interesting you mentioned Mr. Eubanks. When I was first a commissioner, he came to have a conversation with me. And it was a very positive one, so I got started with a mentor that knew what his job was and knew how to serve Putnam County. I say that because we actually lost 2 individuals from our office to death this year unexpectedly. You would many remember Libby Williams, who this whole county knew, and Richard Molsick, who'd worked for the county for over 20 years. So untimely deaths, so we had some lapsed expenses that also contributed to that. So that is why we always give some dollars back, but that's why this year is a little larger than normal. So, Mr. Chairman, because I have the microphone, can I make a couple of other announcements?
You can.
So I would like to say that all of our December birthdays, and I apologize for this, but your tag renewals are going to be late. The state of Florida mails those out, and they just went online with a brand new program, and you all know how brand new statewide computer programs work, right? They don't work when they first roll out. So we have they send that file to all the printers around the state that are used by the different tax offices. That file was corrupt, and so they've had to go back to their old file. And they're currently getting it back up to speed, and we'll be sending it. We should have sent those out by now. We try to send them 6 weeks before December starts. Please be aware that your tag expires at midnight on the day of your birthday, whether you receive that renewal in time or not. And here's my opportunity to say this about that. December is a very tough month for you birthday people, because not only is your tag due, every single heavy truck is due. Now, heavy truck used to mean a business truck. It doesn't anymore. It means anything that's 5,000 pounds, which I bet everybody up here has one that's that weight. You all renew in December as well. And then on top of that, mobile home tags all renew in December. So we're just encouraging folks, do not wait till December 30th or the 31st, which happens to be a Monday, because you will have very long lines. Now, that was the bad news. The good news is we have a brand new program called Tag Express. If you go to our website, right in the middle of the page, there is a button that says Tag Express. What that means is you push that button, you pay online what you want to pay, and then you come to our office in Palatka and pick it up. A lot of people don't use online because they're concerned that it might take a week in the mail, it's their birthday tomorrow, they didn't plan ahead. And if you the normal online through the state, they mail it. So that can, the vagaries of the post office, sometimes it's timely and sometimes it's not. So we initiated last month in October, early October, a new program called Tag Express. And right now we can't deliver to Crescent City or Interlochen, that will be step 2. But for those folks renewing in December, we want you to know this new program is there, Tag Express. You just go online, and the next day you pick up. If you don't come in one day, we do put it in the mail, so we're trying to find the best answer for everybody who's renewing. So I believe that was all my notes today. Yes, sir.
So, Ms. Myers, my birthday's December 29th.
Oh,
If anybody wants to know, December 29th. Everybody got it?
No presents, right?
No, not at all. But my renewal will be online, so I can see that even though the state hasn't gotten that information back out?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes, that's a whole different file. It is online now.
Good.
Yes, sir. And we would really appreciate that, and so will you. Last year, the last week of December, we had 2 to 3 hour waits in all
I tried to
of
do
our
that,
offices.
and I was like, I gave up. So, yeah,
Well,
it was
and
busy,
so
very
thank
busy.
you, and please encourage people you know. And while we're talking about paying money to our office, one last thing, and that is that the tax roll is open. So the tax bills go out next Monday. I'm not sure everybody's excited about that, but they do, and I know you all are. But if you were one of our customers that pay online, you can go online today and pay your taxes or get ready to pay your third installment, which is not due till December 31st. But we have a lot of folks that pay early. with that, I believe I'm on the agenda later. I will sit down and,
I just wanted to tell you that you have a new program, a new computer program that is working.
us, our
Yes.
Tag Express.
Yeah.
We waited, yes, but we've been testing it for 30 days, and we have no problems with it. Yeah, unlike, I get when when Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle rolls something out to 67 counties, it's not always smooth. We're just rolling this out to one county, and certainly we, thanks to our IT department, who is behind us in the booth, they did a great job in helping us roll this out.
Well, good. I want to say thank you for that, and thank you for the almost $500,000.
Yes, yes. Well, you're welcome. No, thank you. We are just pleased to serve Putnam County citizens and the taxing authorities. Thank you.
We do thank you, though. Colonel Wells? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. So on behalf of Sheriff Deloach, I think everybody is aware that where the sheriff is, but those of you that aren't, or maybe our viewing audience, the sheriff received an appointment, and he is at the Law Enforcement Executive School through the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and he is in Quantico, Virginia until December. I can tell that it's been very intense. He has already given me a list of ideas and things that we'll be accomplishing when he gets back, but that's an awesome opportunity that very few law enforcement leaders in this country get a chance to go to. So we're proud of him for being there. I wish I'd have gone before Ms. Myers because our information is good, but not quite as good as hers. So we wanted to make sure that the commission, I'm sure you're aware by now, and the citizens are aware that the Sheriff's Office has also been able to return some unused funds back to the county this year. As you may remember, back in, I believe, June, we returned just north of $250,000, which was our reimbursement from Hurricane Irma. The decision was made at that time because of the late, where it came in the fiscal year, that money could be spent, but not responsibly spent. So we thought the better idea was just to return that to the county for use as you see fit in the future year. And then last week, we sent our final return in for just north of $196,000, Ms. Frank. So we're $195,000 returned for the remainder of our year. Not quite as high as we wanted it to be. Some catastrophic inmate medical came in at the last minute, but just to keep everybody posted, that is our end of the year report. So thank you guys very much. If you have any questions, let me know.
I believe he deserves a standing
That's
ovation.
right. He
also.
does.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
You got money too you want to bring?
No, sir,
Oh.
but if Colonel Wilson, the Sheriff's Office, would like to go first next year, we can make this a competition.
Yes. Okay. Ms. Treen, if you would come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
At our department head meeting last week, we had a discussion about Hurricane Michael and various relief efforts that different county personnel have been involved in. So Mr. Suggs asked me to come today to let you know about some ways that we are helping. As you know, UF-IFAS Extension is a statewide network, and we have a county extension office in every county. So unfortunately, many of our colleagues and clientele and 4-H families and farmers in the Panhandle area have been very hardly hit by this devastating event. So last week, under the leadership of our Putnam County 4-H agent, Crystal Macasio, she put out the call to our 4-H families in Putnam County, partnered with another county 4-H program, and together they gathered 2 trailers full of supplies valued at over $2,600, and she personally, with another person, drove those to Calhoun County last Wednesday, collaborating with the extension personnel in Calhoun County. So she had a firsthand experience of the devastation and the hardships that are being faced out there. But it's just our way of trying to help our extension colleagues in the Panhandle get back on their feet, because they in turn then can be prepared to help their communities, because we know for many of those communities it's going to be a long and difficult struggle. The University of Florida, IFAS, has been very involved in sending relief, gathering supplies, sending personnel to assist our colleagues in the Panhandle. There's even an opportunity for some of our staff to go out there at a later date to help with the recovery process, and we do have a couple of people that will probably go and are interested in that. Many people have asked us, how can we help? We get daily communications from UF-IFAS about what their needs are. Many people want to give their help directly where they know it's going, to the communities that are hardest hit. In those communities, especially in small counties like Liberty and Calhoun and Gulf and Jackson County, those extension people know their communities. They know what the needs are. So if anyone does want to assist in Putnam County, they can bring gift cards to our office that I will personally be responsible for, and what has been requested are gift cards to Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. And then I, in turn, will gather those and send those to Dr. Pete Vergott, who is the Northeast District Extension Director, and those will be distributed in a very responsible and accountable way to those small communities, whether it's buying supplies and taking to them or giving the gift cards. So I just wanted to mention that because we've had a lot of people, it's difficult for people to take large volumes of supplies out there, and then someone has to deal with them and handle them. Many of the extension offices out there are being staged to deliver supplies. So, but I'm very proud of our 4-H program. That's one of the things we teach our 4-H members, is about community service and helping others in their time of need. And so we're very pleased that they were able to assist with that. I also wanted to mention, I've come before you before and talked about our Putnam County 4-H livestock judging team. They are in Kansas City as we speak at the national contest, so we're looking forward to finding out the end of this week how they placed in that contest, and we want to wish them well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any comments? Thank you very much. Ms. Garcia and Ms. Wisnot.
I think that, are they together?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, there's just talking about the
Good morning. Thank you for having us here today. At our department head meeting, I shared with you that we are doing our pink walk on Saturday. This was started by one of our clients at the Florida Department of Health in Putnam County that we helped with our breast cancer program. And while she's still a survivor and still has issues, this is one of those things that she wants to do to give back to the community, to ensure that of the clients that are outside of the realm of what our department structure is, we've created a separate fund to be able to help and expand our help to individuals that are outside our program. So we're really excited to do the pink walk. Usually after we do the pink walk, we run as one of the items that we do for Keep Putnam Beautiful, and for Palatka Pride, we've been doing the cleanup at Hank Bryant Park every year. This year, we've been trying to figure out how to join the walk and the fall festival for the city of Palatka. And so this year, the pink walk will start and end at the riverfront. And then the fall festival for the city of Palatka is going to also be held downtown at the waterfront. So we hope that you all will come and enjoy the celebrations. There is from everything for kids, sleigh rides to paste painting to a lot of our community partners who come in and talk to kids and parents about some of the services that we offer. So we're really excited about that. And remind you today that tonight at 5:30, also we will be having a remembrance for domestic violence at the courthouse. So we appreciate that. If you have any questions.
And I thought you might want to throw a little story in there about our flu
I'd
drive.
love to. Thank you. You know, sometimes when my team hears me say, you know, I think I've got this really good dream, They kind of run and go, oh, Lord, what has Mary thought of now? Actually, they don't. They just go, okay, what is it that we're going to do now? So I shared my dream with my team. We shared it with Quinn Romay at the EOC and brought a couple partners together. So 3 weeks ago, we started planning because we found out that the school district is not offering vaccines. It's not the school district. The company that does the vaccines for the school district the last couple years that we've negotiated will not be doing the vaccines at the school this year. For me, that's very worrisome in that that means that a lot of the immunity that we have based on children in our schools reflected to parents and grandparents was not going to be available this year. So we thought it was really critical to be able to get a flu vaccination campaign off the ground very quickly. We talked with our office in Tallahassee and our immunization bureau, and they were very supportive. And we did a lot of prayer to make sure the vaccines arrived just in the nick of time. Thank you, Lord. But then all our community partners, from the hospital to the EOC, to the sheriff's office, to the Palatka Fire and Rescue, the Putnam Fire and Rescue, the Palatka Daily News helping us get the word out, the radio stations, Rotary clubs who helped with our clients as they came out. So this was kind of novel. We did 3 vaccination pods, points of distribution, points of dispensing this year. It's unusual to do that many at one time, period, but we decided to make it a drive-through so that the clients could come in, receive their paperwork, come in, get a shot, and then wait a few minutes to make sure that they had no reactions, and then leave. So the average time really was about, the longest wait really was the 5 minutes I made people wait, or the 10 minutes or 15 minutes that I talked to them because I wouldn't let them go, no. So really, you well know. So we're grateful that all of you came, and some of you were very brave and even did your shots in front of cameras, so we appreciate that. We did a total of over 350 shots in one day. So amazing. The clients have been all over Facebook saying what an amazing event it was, how easy it was, and I want to thank you, each of you. I know Commissioner Goddard, you were at a class, so couldn't make it, but everybody else was kind enough to show up and help with our pod and our distribution, and it was an amazing event. So I have to say our young explorers from the Sheriff's Office and the city in Palatka were amazing too, so I want to give kudos to them because they wanted to make sure they got people before they went out. But we are planning to do another one at the hospital because, again, I think a lot of people don't understand or haven't heard that the school district is not doing vaccinations for the kids in the school this year. So want to make sure that they're aware of that. So we're going to see if we've got enough energy to do a couple more. Thank you.
Thank you for being on top of that.
Oh, no, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Mary, let me say, I witnessed personally a few families, and you could see that they were a little impoverished when they pulled up, and they needed help. And it was so amazing that they brought their young children to be immunized that day and vaccine. And I remember one little girl, she did not want to get a shot. She was really upset. But the nurse was so gentle with her, and even was clucking like a chicken, trying to make her move her arm. And it was just and the girl was fine as soon as that was over. And it just warmed my heart to see the caring that went on at that moment and in that environment. I mean, that parking lot, it was raining in Larkin at that time, but it was just so refreshing to see people really caring about their community. Thank you for having that dream and bringing that to the forefront.
No, you're so welcome. We call it public health in action, but we can't do it alone, and we have great, amazing community partners who kind of thought, what is she up to now? But then really came on board and said, all right, we can handle this in 3 weeks, and amazingly we did, and we're kind of getting ready for a next round, so we're excited. So thank you very much.
Yes, sir, Mr.
Mayor, I just want to thank you for putting that together and all your staff and all the volunteers. When you asked me to volunteer, I said, yeah, I'll try to do that. So I got down there about 12:30 at the Crescent City High School where the South Putnam was. And so anyway, but it was so well staffed, they didn't need my help. And so they suggested that I get vaccine. And I said, well, I never had a flu shot. My mom's been trying to get me to get one since I was 40, and I will soon be 58. So I asked what each station was, and the first one was where you signed in. And then the next one in the row was where you got the shot. The next one where you were quarantined or stopped for about 5 minutes. Then you had the EMT at the end in case you had a reaction. I said, well, what's the one over to the right? So that's where the children get theirs. I said, well, I'm going to go over there, and that's where I'm going to get mine. So maybe I'll get a toy. But anyway, my mother thanks you for putting that together. I had my first flu shot.
We've worked on that for years.
Did you get a toy?
I didn't get a toy.
Got very cute stickers.
Okay.
Got a sticker.
I thought Brandon's post was cute that I went through the flu shot and all I got was a sticker. But honestly, everybody really is essential to making sure that our citizens stay safe. And each of us that have our flu vaccination are able to add some immunity to those around us. So it's really important. So we had a really good time. It was fun. My whole team, bless their hearts, we left 3 people behind at the health department and everybody else came. So it shows that you can do it. It's people fuss at us at being small and poverty-stricken, and but honestly, we come together when there's a time of need, and we use this as a planning exercise for in case there is an event. It shows that we can work together really well, how fast something can come together, and now we have those steps down and sort of a kind of a concept of what we want to do in case of the future, and have left sort of kits ready to go in case we have to do it in case of an emergency.
Mr. Chairman, I want to say one more thing. Ms. Mary, I was in a meeting all day yesterday, and the question was given, why do you love Putnam County and Palatka? And I said, we're one big family. We don't always agree. It's kind of like Thanksgiving. You don't always, I want the remote, no, you. But we all get along, and we work for the betterment of the community, and we're just a really big family here in Putnam County, and that's why I love Putnam County. So thank you.
Thank you. It's been an honor. It's an honor to be here. So thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Ms. Wisnot?
I need a password to unlock this if somebody can help me real quick.
Okay. Yeah.
Mike is on.
Don't look up here.
That's okay.
You're not giving the password?
No. I don't know if it'd do any good if you gave it to me.
I found that in my jacket pocket. Are you cool enough in here?
Just right.
I think he told me I'll never get the password, so. Video, Commissioner Turner.
I thought.
What I have today to share with you is basically an initiative that was brought to the attention to myself and to Joe Groves, who is the Parks Operations Supervisor. And the gentleman who brought this initiative, this idea to us, his name is Brian Wiggins. And his idea merely was to paint the soccer fields pink for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we did that. In addition to that, I asked Joe if we could create the logo on the field, the ribbon, the pink ribbon on the field, and he was able to replicate that as well. So we just have a few slides to share with you all, just to show a little bit of the thought and initiative that goes into things that we do beyond field maintenance and the programs themselves. So these are just some pictures, and just some pictures of some kids outside enjoying the program and the day, and I hope you take notice of the background, because if you've never had an opportunity to be at the park when the soccer program's going on, it is full to capacity. We are soccer on one side and we are softball on the other side. So I invite you to come out sometime and walk through if you like. So this is the logo that we placed on the field in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this was placed on all of the fields. which are 5. This young man was kind enough to lend his smile to the photo op. This is one of the teams from the 4, 5, and 6-year-olds. And again, the emblem on the field is behind them. This is the next age group. This is 7 and 8-year-olds. The coach that you see in this frame, she's like many of the coaches that we have. One of the nights that I was at the park, she was really encouraging. Well, that's really, really good. Then she turned and said, but remember, we're going this way. So there's a lot of redirection in the smaller age group. Those coaches do a great job. And again, just the markings on the field. And the coach is right in the middle of the field again because this is the smaller age group, so they give quite a bit of direction and interaction. And you can see the fields are full.
Boy, he's determined on that one.
Yes, yes, they all. That soccer ball is like a magnet. It doesn't matter where
He's
those
fixing to
kids
score,
are
I think.
supposed to be on the field, but they all come for the ball. So that's all I have for you. I just wanted to again share some things that we're trying to do that actually go beyond Parks and Recreation, and just give kudos to the maintenance staff for Brian's thought and his initiative to do that, and then again for Joe taking it one step further to having the actual pink ribbon on the field.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. Now, if the library crew would come forward, Mr. Liebel's going to read your proclamation.
One book, one Putnam crew.
One book, excuse me.
Okay, I'd like to read into the record a proclamation celebrating One Book, One Putnam, our annual read, and I'll start now. Whereas reading is an important activity for all the residents of Putnam County, and whereas less than half of the adult American population now reads literature, the Board of Commissioners wishes to encourage all of the county's residents, both young and old, to read. And whereas reading is one way to create bonds within a family and among friends and neighbors, we want to get everyone in the community, from high school youth and office workers to public officials and senior citizens, to read and discuss a great book together. And whereas One Book, One Putnam is encouraging all residents to read Kate D. Camilio's book, Because of Winn-Dixie, a story of a girl who adopts a dog that changes her life. And whereas this program aims to revive literary reading in America, therefore, in support of this goal, there will be a book discussions, community activities, and knowledgeable speakers. And whereas the Board of Commissioners knows the residents of Putnam County will benefit and learn from reading this book. And whereas One Book, One Putnam is celebrating 14 years of encouraging reading throughout Putnam County. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Putnam County Board of Commissioners does hereby support learning through reading as promoted by One Book, One Putnam, and proclaims January and February of 2012 as the One Book, One Putnam County Read Months. Done, ordered, and adopted this 23rd day of October 2018. And with that, I'd like to offer a motion into the record, Mr. Chairman.
I have a proper motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a proper second. All those in favor say aye.
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 So moves. You have the vote.
Wow, and this is a nice one, too. Thank you very much, Commissioner Chairman, Commissioners, all of you, before we talk about One Book, One Putnam, I would like to take one moment of personal privilege to talk about John Eubanks. Because John Eubanks was one of the commissioners when we built the headquarters library. And I remember him coming in one day and looking around the library and saying, I am proud of two things in Putnam County. One of them is curbside garbage pickup, and the other is building the headquarters library. So John will always rank very high in my estimation, and he really was a gentleman and a real benefit to Putnam County. And probably none of us would be here today if it weren't for the work that John did. But One Book, One Putnam this year, we are reading Kate DiCamillo's Because of Winn-Dixie, and it's really nice to be here today when we're talking about family things and what kind of a family community Putnam County is, because this is really truly a family book. It's a book the whole family can read and talk about. It's about a young girl who discovers a dog in all places, Winn-Dixie. And it's just a random thing. He's creating havoc in the store, and she calls him Winn-Dixie and takes him home, and it does. It changes her life. And we hope that reading in Putnam County will help change lives as well. We kicked this whole thing off on January 10th at the Palatka Golf Course, and we will have all sorts of displays and activities. We're going to have some different kinds of service dogs there. For those of you that don't know, we have 2 reading dogs. I believe we still have 2 reading dogs. We have 1 reading dog in Putnam County that works at at our Bostwick library. So if you ever need to read to a dog, check with Jeremy. And I would like to introduce you, I'm sure you all by now know Jeremy Yates, who is the Putnam County Special Projects Coordinator for the library system. Roberta Crisson, who is one of our One Book, One Putnam Advisory Board members, and Lula Gale Griffiths, who is another one. And these are the people that work together to bring this program to us every year. We've got, like I said, we've got a lot of exciting activities coming up. Nathan Clifton in the marketplace on St. John's Avenue in Putnam County in Palatka, now has copies of the book for sale. And this year it's a bargain. It's only $7.99. So I urge everybody to go out and get a copy. We do this now because they make nice stocking stuffers. So buy one for a Christmas present, or 2 or 3. Buy them for everybody, and you've solved all of your Christmas shopping. So the kickoff is on January 10th. We will have the finale on February 28th. And I think I would like to keep this finale a surprise for a little bit. But keep your eyes out for what we'll be doing for the finale. I think we have a really exciting thing going on. And always, as we do every year, we would like to present the commissioners with a copy of the book so that you can get a head start on reading.
Chairman, thank you. Thank you, Steve.
I wish I could get by with $7.99
Oh, and for those of you that choose not to buy the book, the library does have copies. I believe we have them in print. I still say we. I mean, the library is still a part of me, and I can't give that up. But the library still has copies, both in print and in audio. Oh, we have the movie, so that's even better. I don't even have to read. I can watch. This is really exciting. But the last thing I want to say, as always, is for 14 years, you have been great support for One Book, One Putnam. And it's probably, aside from story time, one of the best ongoing programs through the library system. And we really do appreciate all of the support that all of the commissioners over the years have given to One Book, One Putnam, and we really do thank you. So go out and read, because reading rocks.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Crawley, Winn-Dixie does look like a character now. He
Yes.
does. This is going to be good. But for Mr. Yates, I can help you with the reading dog shortage. Animal Services here in Putnam County, we have a lot of reading dogs looking for a good home if you need some.
Very good. Sure.
Yeah, we actually had another therapy dog at the Melrose Library. He unfortunately passed away last year, but Gabe, the wonder dog, served the residents of Melrose Library for years, and he was really well loved.
Okay, I'm serious on my offer. If you need some more reading dogs, we're kind of crowded at the shelter right now. I'd be glad to help you.
And know that if you have an older edition of this book, that Winn-Dixie, the picture on the front is much more ragged than the picture on the front now, so.
Okay. Thank you.
For you.
Thank you for that. We'll now open for our public comment. I don't have any cards up here, but that's not necessary. Anyone who wants to come forward with public comment, just hold it to under 3 minutes. State your name and your address. Again, any public comment? Seeing no activity, I'll close that portion. And we can move to our consent agenda. Okay.
I have nothing from this end.
Okay, Mr. Lowry?
I have none.
Mr. Turner?
I have none.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chairman, seeing that, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through O.
All right, so we have a proper first, a proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that moves. That was very painless. Okay, do we have any appointments? I'll start again with Mr. Lible.
Clerk of Court.
Oh, did I jump over?
Yes.
You went to the last page. There's a
Come
middle
back.
one in there.
Here we go. Page 2, as they say. Okay, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Frank has a brief report she would like to present today.
We've been watching on the website for our FEMA money, and we are getting really close to receiving $2.5 million from Irma. It is actually pending on the state website, so I'm expecting it within the next week.
Good deal.
It's great.
Mr. Chairman.
Need any help with that, or what do we?
Nothing I can
We,
think of.
we'll ride up and go get it. Just tell us it's ready. Where's the check? We'll go get it.
I'm telling you.
And
Good job. Very good job.
yes, and that's all we have, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Turner?
That's the money that goes back to the landfill fund for the
Yes,
money
it's debris.
borrowed from the sale stuff or the sale fund or whatever?
Yeah.
That is correct. It goes back to the solid waste fund.
I was just thinking of ways to spend it, but we don't get it back? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all we have, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
well, in that case, I'm going to go ahead and say we'll take a 5-minute recess and then we'll return.
There's a guy that wants you to.
I lost my phone.
Yeah.
You ought to wait her on out.
You what?
You ought to wait her on out, you think, Larry? You're almost there.
Well, I'd rather go ahead.
We'll do our appointment.
We're becoming a little restless.
Are you in OFT?
Never mind.
You never seen that?
For an item on the agenda?
That is on the agenda.
Yeah, if it's on the agenda, then,
The one that we don't, I guess he's wanting to speak about something on the agenda. So
yeah,
he
then
gets
that's,
it to you.
when they come, Well, on an agenda item, then we would.
We're out,
That was a crazy.
And reconvene.
Sorry.
No problem.
Are you in?
No problem, no problem.
Are you in?
We'll reconvene our meeting. And we will,
Crazy.
we're going to move to our appointments at the time.
Now, Mr. Chairman, we're on planning and development public hearings?
No, sir, that's at 10.
Oh, we're early. Sorry.
Yes, sir, so I'm moving to the appointments. And so I'm going to start with Commissioner Turner.
I do not have any today, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, Mr. Harvey.
I have none today,
And Mr. Pickens.
I have none.
And Mr. Lible.
None either.
Okay, I also have none. So we can close out that part, which is a lot quicker than I expected it to be. But the appointments is now done. Since we have a 10 o'clock certain, you're going to be surprised at this. We're going to recess for 5 minutes.
We have to. We have to.
We'll now reconvene, and we will go to our planning and development, and this will be Mr. Preston's going to present.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started.
Yes, sir, thank you.
A number of these, well, I think all of them are quasi-judicial in nature, so we'd ask that Ms. Oliver swear in any person wishing to speak on any of the next 4 items, A, B, C, and D. And then after that, prior to each one of the individual hearings, I would ask that each one of you disclose any ex parte communications that you've had on the matter, and whether you feel those ex parte communications would hinder you in making a a determination based solely on the evidence that you hear today.
Okay.
So, Ms. Oliver?
Wait a minute.
Anybody that, this includes anybody that's going to speak on any of the next 4 matters. We'll swear all those in at once.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Now, did you see who did that?
And then if we could move into any ex parte communications that you all may have had on the first item
Start with
under
Mr.
8A.
I've had none, counsel.
Mr. Pickens.
I just spoke with staff.
Mr. Turner.
I've had none.
I've had none, sir.
And I've had none.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll move back to you.
Mr. Chairman, if we can get the slides to show up on the video above, that would be helpful. If I have to do anything, let me know. Thank you. Our application today before you is from Ms. Libby Yarborough. It is what we call downzoning from something more intense to something less intense. It is R18-009. It is a zoning district change from commercial 2 to residential 2 on a .93 acre piece of ground. The property is located at 100 State Road 20 in Palatka. You can see on the map that Palatka's to the right, the property is over to the left under the little red dot, and it's very little. If we zoom in a little bit, you can see that there is no development on the parcel right now. It is just under an acre in size. The future land use is urban reserve, which you may recall means that it may soon get water and sewer services, but none now. The current zoning is commercial 2, and you can see a little bit of commercial 2 diagonally from the property and a little bit to the west of the property and the other land uses surrounding it, with agriculture to the north and to the south. The proposed zoning is R2, which is residential. So the future land use existing is urban reserve, which means, like I said, that no It's in close proximity to the City of Palatkas's municipal services of water and sewer, but none there yet. The existing zoning is C2, the purpose of which is to provide commercial zoning district for light commercial uses. But what is proposed is the residential 2 zoning district, and it provides a residential district that includes mobile homes in these 3 or 4 different future land use classifications. So here's what's allowed in residential 2. You can have single family, you can have mobile home, you can have a community residential home. And with a special use permit, you can also do these 6 items listed on this slide and these 7 items that are listed on the next slide. What is proposed is a residence because it is just 1 acre in size. The comprehensive plan usually controls density, and what density is allowed on this one site is 1 dwelling unit. The proposed R2 use is allowed in the urban reserve future land use category. The proposed rezoning, like I said, is a downsizing resulting in a lower intensity of use. The proposed residential use is next to a budding use intensity, which will require a 10-foot buffer of evergreen plants, 6 feet tall at the time of planting, and provide an overall screening density of 75%. And although this proposed residential zoning will not be contiguous to any other residential zoning, there are contiguous residential uses. Those agricultural uses look like residential uses. You may have been to the site and noticed that. They are north and west and south of the subject site. So, staff finds that the proposed rezoning to R2 is consistent with the comprehensive plan, consistent with the locational requirements for the R2 zoning, and compatible with the surrounding land uses, and staff recommends approval of the request to amend the zoning map from commercial 2 to residential 2 for this parcel. Are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Preston, did I hear you say that they have to put a 6-foot buffer around that property at time of planning for R2?
That at the time of development, that's correct, because it is adjacent to some commercial uses. And so those are incompatible. And what our land development code says is whoever develops last is the one where the burden is on for the buffer.
But the only commercial is across the street to the east of that convenience
Should be
store.
some to the west as well.
Well, yeah, but that's not in use anymore, and that one's over with, so.
You know, we go by what's on the map, and we are very technical, and we don't, even though it is not currently used as commercial, if it says it's commercial and it has a commercial land use designation, that's what we go by.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So they would only have to build a fence between them and the commercial use, correct? Not behind them?
That's
Or up the other side?
Right,
Or
not
across the
beside.
highway, just between them and the commercial use? Is it not true that if they didn't want to build the fence, they could also approach, and of course, they'd have to pay another application fee, but seek a special use permit to not have to, or a variance to not have to put that fence up between them?
That is also correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Any public comment?
Mr. Chairman, if the applicant is here.
Yes, the applicant is here. Okay, so if you'd come forward, do you have any comments?
She didn't swear me in, my son's gonna be my spokesman.
Okay. Mr. McKinley?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Mike McKinley. It's set empty, and we're just trying to do something with it. We've had no bites on it as far as selling it as commercial. So we're trying to put a home on there, which will be another home in the tax base. And there's, like you said, there's only one business, that's the store. So we're trying to do something with it, and instead of just sitting there. We need all the housing in here, in the county we can get, actually. We're kind of low on that, so we're going to try to put a nice home in there and make the community look a little better.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any comment for or against? Okay, seeing none, I'll close that portion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
with regards to case number R18-009, I move that we accept the recommendation of the Planning Commission and find it consistent and move it forward.
Second.
Okay, so we have a proper first and a proper second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any comment? Okay, it's done. Thank you. Okay, we will now move to our planned unit development, 1630.56 acres.
Again, Mr. Chairman, if we could have disclosure of ex parte communications.
Yes, sir. Okay, and we'll start with Mr.
I've
Turner.
had none.
Mr. Harvey?
I've had none.
Mr. Pickens?
I spoke briefly with staff, briefly with Joey Froelich from the Planning Commission, and briefly from the presenter, the applicant.
And I've had none.
And I've had none.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Brown, Putnam County Planning Development Services. The next case is PUD 18-006. This is an application to amend the existing PUD. The applicant is Midnight Florida LLC. The agent is Mr. Thomas C. Miller. And the request is to amend, as I indicated, amend the existing Midnight Florida LLC PUDs, formerly known, and many of you may know it as the Skinner Nursery PUD, to add approximately 534.56 acres and reducing the amount of development entitlements allowed within the PUD. Future land use designation of the property included is rural residential, urban reserved, and Ag 1. The zoning is PUD and agriculture today. The project is located south of Crescent City between US Highway 17 and Crescent Lake and north of Clifton Road. This aerial shows you the location of the PUD. I failed to add, being brought also into this PUD is that portion of Bear Island, which is in Putnam County. So that's also included as part of this proposal. Just a little history of the project. The Skinner Wholesale Nursery was originally approved as a PUD by Putnam County in September of 2000. The PUD was subsequently amended in January of 2015, which included changing the name to Midnight Florida PUD. As it stands today, the approval of the PUD includes 1,096 acres, 270 single-family homes, 300 RV lots, 50,000 square feet of commercial, a private K-3 school, a private airstrip, agriculture and nursery uses, and a recreational and open space. The proposed changes to the PUD include adding 534.56 acres, deleting the 300 RV sites, reducing the number of single-family dwellings from 270 to 30, deleting the commercial use entirely, adding a family cemetery and chapel encompassing approximately 2 acres, eliminating the phasing set forth in the existing PUD, and removing the 10-acre recreational area that is included in the existing PUD. As you can see, this is a significant reduction in the entitlements proposed. Here's a map showing the future land use with the rural or the urban reserve piece up at the very north adjacent to Crescent City with Ag 1 in between, and then the rural residential encompassing most of the existing PUD, and also the Bear Island is Ag on the future land use. This shows the existing zoning. And then should this amendment be changed, approved by the board, this is what the zoning would look like. They've submitted a conceptual site plan, and I recognize it's a little difficult to see, but this shows it. The residential development, the 30 acres, or the 30 units, primarily focused in that area in the white towards the middle of the project site of fronting Crescent Lake. Looking at comp plan consistency, the Ag 1 future land use urban reserve category and the rural residential category all allows uses which are proposed in the PUD as proposed to be amended. Policy A193B5 of the comp plan allows PUD zoning in any future land use designation. Staff finds that the proposed amendment is to reduce the entitled development, which presently is allowed. The addition of a small chapel and associated family cemetery, as well as continuation of the agricultural uses, are allowed within all three of the future land use designations. All of the existing and proposed uses are consistent with the future land use designations on the property. Policy B142 of the comprehensive plan ensures that no proposed development will receive development approval where traffic will have an adverse impact on roadway, resulting in operations below the adopted level of service. The significant reduction in development will not adversely impact the road system. Presently, Clifton Road, a local road, and US Highway 17 operate at acceptable level of service, and there is no anticipation that the proposed amendment would degrade the level of service on those roadways. The proposed PUD district is to allow, as defined in the Land Development Code, landowner developers submit unique proposals that may or may not be provided or allowed for in other zoning districts. The Midnight Florida PUD was originally, as I indicated earlier, approved in 2000, subsequently amended in 2015. This is a request to amend the existing PUD and add additional acreage. Subsection 40202A requires an application for rezoning of PUD present evidence that the rezoning is justified. Staff finds that due to subsequent to the previous actions by the county has determined that the PUD zoning is justified for this area. There are a number of criteria in the Land Development Code for PUD rezoning. I'll just touch on these real quickly. The density or intensity and character of type of development proposed is consistent with the comp plan. Also, the use proposed in the PUD is compatible with the terrain and existing and planned uses. Staff finds that the majority of the acreage will be utilized for agriculture as it is today. The intensity and density of development as proposed for the amendment is consistent with the comp plan and the three land use designations. The total of 30 dwelling units over 1,637 acres will provide adequate buffering from adjacent uses, and only limited traffic will be generated from on-site development, and there is adequate capacity on both Clifton Road and US Highway 17. Next criteria, residential density must comply with the density limitations of the land use category on all three of them in this case. Total acreage of 16,037 acres with the 30 residential units results in approximately 1 dwelling unit per 55 acres, which is more than adequate to meet the density requirements of the three land uses. Usable open space and recreation is provided by the PUD must be consistent with policies of the comp plan. The significant reduction in the residential units and the removal of the RV sites from the development plan results in no need for providing recreational areas within the development. The majority of the property in the PUD will be left as open space. The site of the PUD must be suitable and used in a manner proposed without hazards to persons either on or off the site, likelihood of increased flooding. The development will comply with the requirements of the stormwater management set forth in the comp plan and in the land development code. There should be no impact, adverse or potential impact to flooding resulting from this project. All uses permitted in the PUD shall have access to public street, either directly or by way of private road. The project site will be accessed by Sailor Road, which is a private road which runs through the project, connecting Clifton Road with US Highway 17. All residential units and other permitted uses in the PUD will utilize Sailor Drive to access public streets. There is sufficient in parking area within the project. There's no need for any parking to be on street or off street outside of the project boundaries. Finally, the utilities and essential public services are available to the project. Their sanitary and sewer and potable water will be provided by wells and septic system, and there is adequate solid waste capacity and other service capacity to serve the reduced development proposed. There is an existing PUD agreement. There are amendment changes to that. I just want to touch base on the general changes to that development agreement. Again, there will be a total of 1,634.33 acres. Total number of residential units will be 30. No RV sites or commercial development on the project. Project will be built as a single phase. There is no requirement for the code of conduct for the use of the airstrip. The private airstrip will exist and is in the PUD today and is intended to exist. Individual wells and septic systems permitted by the Department of Health will replace the requirement for central potable water and sewer system, and no requirement for footpaths and bicycle trails with the significant reduction in residential units. Staff finds that the applicant has presented evidence rezoning to PUD or amending the PUD is justified. The proposed amendment and development is consistent with the future land use designations. The proposed project is compatible with the existing uses in the area. The development is consistent with the requirements of PUD zoning and consistent with other comprehensive plan goals, objectives, and policies. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of this amendment. Staff recommends approval of the request to amend Midnight Florida PUD to add 534 acres, add the use of a family cemetery and chapel, and reduce the overall development as set forth in the amended Midnight Florida Development Agreement. Any questions of staff at this point?
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner.
When they did their first PUD years ago, they didn't with the amount of possible future housing that it took up part of our capacity for concurrency in the south end, or does that only happen? Isn't it possible future along with what actually happens?
Yeah, I mean, in general, yes. They would have had that right based on the approval. So that's
basically
freed up.
By taking all these out, basically they're increasing our capacity towards our south end concurrency, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. Harvey.
Mr. Brown, in doing the math, I was getting to the 54 acres, and you said 1 per 55, which I'm good with on that. Removing the 10-acre recreational area, I guess that's because it's one dwelling per 55 acres.
Yeah, it's primarily resultant of the the recreational requirement was tied
Right.
to the number of units that was proposed originally.
Sure.
And with that reduction, there's no need
There's no need to.
include that.
I like the conservation on the Bear Island. I like that part. And I do want to, I guess what concerns me, you mentioned that it's going to be private road going in there to that, and a potential of 30 home sites in there. You know, we have limitations placed on us during storm debris on private property. This seems to be like going to be a nice subdivision there on the lake. And, you know, it's going to be a private road, and it's not going to get the same services that public roads get throughout our county.
And they understand that,
And they
yes.
understand that fully. I hope the buyers understand that too, is my point.
And I don't, the agent can probably address that a little more. I don't know that there's a lot of outside buyers, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
But that's something
Thank
the
you,
agent
thank you,
should
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. K.
No problem. Yes, sir, Mr. Pickens.
Mike, on the conservation area for Bear Island, is part of Bear Island in Flagler County?
Yes.
Okay, how did that work? Did the
My
applicant?
understanding is Baker County actually has it conservation on their comprehensive plan. We do not. Putnam County has it designated agriculture, but the applicant has committed that they would basically, there were some development parcels on there. They've removed, my understanding, again, the agent probably can respond a little better. There was an airstrip on there that they've removed. There is, I think they've taken out the structures that were on there, and they've committed through the PUD that they would be conservation. So that's.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Any other questions? Okay, is the applicant here?
Tom Miller, 1541, County Road 309, Georgetown, Florida, 32139. Promised Terry I wouldn't speak too much. What we're doing is we're pulling 5 parcels of land together, as Mike has eloquently explained, and one of those parcels being Bear Island. I've been to Flagler County, and that half of Bear Island is in conservation. And what we want to do is keep this half in conservation. There is a pole barn over there that we put up in an attempt to shelter 50 goats before Hurricane Michael. No. What's the other hurricane?
Irma?
Matthew.
Yeah.
Well, 7 survived. So then we put 50 goats over there for Irma, and about a dozen survived. So what we're going to do is give up on the goat theory and go conservation on the island and just leave that alone, because that requires a big dock, boat, workers, feed every day. So it's not a good thing to do. That's Bear Island. I've removed the airstrip from Bear Island. So Bear Island is just, excuse me, just an island, and it's going to be in conservation for whatever comes in the future. And it won't be a development by this current owner. What was the other question? Was there another question on?
I think there were any.
I think everything was
It was-
answered.
The private road, I think.
Oh, the private road. The houses that are on the farm right now are being counted into this 30, of which there are 9 houses right now. And all the houses are owned by the corporation, Midnight Land. All future houses will be owned by Midnight Land. Those houses are primarily for people that are employed by Midnight Land. So it's a farm. It's like they used to have back in the 1800s. You work on the farm, you live on the farm, and that's it. And they're nice houses, very nice. Sela Drive is, as Mike explained, is contiguous from Clifton over to 17. We have, it is a private road. We have gates on there. The fire department's been out there. We asked them to come out and check out their sirens, and we have compatible gate openers with the sirens, with keys, and we've had the sheriff out there. So everybody's happy with the gating arrangement and the ability to get into the farm and out of the farm, and even a shortcut to the main house on Sela Drive off 17. The old main house, which was over a mile from Highway 17, carried an address of 2700 Highway 17. Now, I don't know how you could ever find it, but I've done all re-addressing on everything. And it's a very nice place. It's quiet.
Any questions?
One other item here. I'd asked Mike about a 20-acre set-aside for some time in the future for wild animal rescue. And it's not a for sure thing, but as long as we're asking to have a PUD and put everything in there we can get. Is that in there? That was in the paperwork?
Yeah, well, I believe that it would be allowed under the agri uses that are allowed within the PUD.
That's right. But it's all overseen by the state of Florida. Anything to do with wild animals, like a deer, rattlesnake, whatever. And I think that's about it. Hope I made my cut.
Okay.
And I'm for this.
Mr. Chairman,
Any other questions?
Wait just a second.
Yes.
I just want to have a comment, TC, and thank for what Midnight Farms is doing with those pieces of property. When the Skinner's Nursery went out of business, we were just kind of wondering what would happen with that property, because it has been a farming, really a container tree operation for some 30 years before it went out of business, and provided a bunch of jobs in South Putnam that we need. So I appreciate what they are doing down there. And also, thank you for your service to the county. I know you served on the codes board before, but also on the planning commission for some almost 20 years, I believe.
Total 17.
17 years. So, and that's a volunteer position. You're appointed. Doesn't pay much at all, does it? But it provides a great service to the county, and I just appreciate your service.
Well, thank you. It gave me something to do.
Exactly.
I believe that's all the questions. And employment out there is, what would you say, Bill, 50?
Yeah, 50 or so.
Well, that's good.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Mr. Miller before he sits down?
Nothing?
Okay, thank you. So do I have any public comment for or against this project? Seeing none, I'll close that.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt PUD 18006 as approved by the Planning Commission and by our staff.
I'll second it.
So we have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any other comment? That's closed. So we'll move to zoning map amendment.
All right, Mr. Chairman, the next two projects are.
Mr. Chairman, before we get started again, sorry,
Sir.
Mike, I would ask, disclose any ex parte communications and indicate whether or not those would keep you from being impartial based upon the evidence that you hear today.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Lible.
I've had none.
Mr. Pickens.
I spoke with staff and one member of the planning commission.
Mr. Harvey.
I have had some. I actually helped facilitate a meeting with Mr. Brown and Vulcan about this, and I think that's my extent of and it will not cloud my judgment to make a decision today.
Okay.
I've had none, Mr. Chairman.
And I've had none.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chairman and Commission, the next two projects are related, the rezoning and the master mining permit. So they're going to blend together, the presentations. The applicant, this is with the rezoning and with the master mining permit. The applicants are Florida Rock Properties, Inc. and Florida Rock Industries, Inc. The agents, Brenna Durden, with Lewis Longman and Walker, Tracy Johns with Vulcan Materials, and Cheryl DeCrenza and Lisa Doherty with Kleinfelder, Inc. This request specifically is for the rezoning change from agriculture to mining on 8 parcels totaling 789.34 acres. The purpose is to facilitate the continuation of mining operations at the Grandin Sand Mine. The location 791 North County Road 315 in Interlaken. Just a brief background. Grandin Sand Mine has been in operation since 1986. The existing mining operations encompass 1,183 acres, permitted pursuant to an Florida Department of Environmental Protection permit and a special exception 86-007 issued by Putnam County. There are approximately 6,518 acres designated mining on the adopted future land use map in and around this area. The lands subject to this rezoning request are designated mining on the future land use map. There are 3 tracts included, and I'll show you a map of them in a second. The Northwest Tract, Southwest Tract, and West Tract that are incorporated in this rezoning and master mining permit application. Current mining operations are 7 days a week, 24 hours a day effort. There is a single point of access for the project on State Road 100. Truck loading times are typically 4 a.m. to 2 p.m. with the daily average truck count is about 200 per day with a maximum of 350 per day. Pursuant to this rezoning request and the master mining permit request, there are no anticipated changes to the operations. What this is really they've hit are running up on their area that they can mine. They want to expand that and just basically continue operations as they exist today for the next 45, 50 years. Here's a general conceptual site plan that was submitted. The shaded areas that are the 3 areas that are included for this rezoning and master mining permit. Just quickly going the highlights of the conceptual site plan. Of the 789.34 acres involved in the rezoning and the master mining permit, 609 are proposed for excavation. The other areas will be buffer areas, set-aside areas, and preservation areas. Mining activities will be set back a minimum of 100 feet from any property line, and on the west end of the project site, the boundary will be set back a minimum of 137 feet. 99% of the on-site surface waters and wetlands are proposed to remain undisturbed. A 25-foot upland buffer will be set aside around all non-impacted wetlands pursuant to comp plan policies. And in addition, 49.4 acres of the longleaf pine xeric oak habitat will remain undisturbed, located in 2 locations in the west and southeast tracts, again, consistent with policy E136 of the county's comprehensive plan. Here's an aerial of the area the area in red hatch is the area to be included in the rezoning and the master mining permit. Future land use, as you can see, all the land encompassing the proposal is already designated mining on the future land use map. And again, there's a number of acres to the south that are also designated mining on the future land use map. Current zoning, you can see the current area that's designated as mining in that gray, or green, I mean. And then proposed rezoning would extend that area to all the new areas to be included in the mining. Consistent with the comprehensive plan, future land use designation of mining consists of areas of potential valuable minerals or extractable use resources currently under ownership or lease for present or future planned mining activities. Subsection A of this policy allows for the appropriate use, reclamation, and protection of areas suitable for the extraction of minerals and extractable resources in accordance with the environmental protection policies of the plan. Staff finds that the areas subject to the rezoning request are designated mining and adopted future land use. The mining future land use indicate the fact that the county has already designated this area as mining on the future land use indicates that it recognizes the area is suitable for the extraction of minerals and extractable resources. The existing zoning is ag, proposed zoning is mining. Mining is not allowed within the existing agriculture zoning. That's the reason for the request for the rezoning. In focusing, this analysis is on the rezoning. Future land use designation is mining. The mining zoning district is consistent with the mining land use designation. The proposed use is allowed within the mining zoning district. Their project has direct access onto State Road 100, which is not, there's no intention to ever change that at this point. That will remain. There is adequate capacity on State Road 100. It's operating below the adopted or above the adopted level of service. And just want to point out that that includes the existing truck traffic from this project since it's ongoing. Those trips and employees are counted in those traffic counts. So with no expansion of those uses, traffic will not be adversely impacted resulting from this rezoning or master mining plan. There are a survey by the applicant. There are some gopher tortoise habitat. There is gopher tortoise habitat on site. Prior to any new mining activities, they will be required to obtain, to do a survey, and then if any adverse impact to any gopher tortoise burrows, they'll have to obtain a permit to relocate the areas in areas that may be impacted. Through all mining efforts and approvals, there's always a question on groundwater. That's one of the hot topics. In 2017, Vulcan Materials worked in conjunction and in cooperation with St. John's River Water Management to replace the mine production groundwater withdrawals from the upper aquifer with water from the lower Floridan aquifer. This included installation of a lower Florida aquifer pumping well that's approximately 1,250 feet deep, and a monitoring well of the lower Floridan aquifer at 860 feet. The purpose of this effort was to provide additional protection to the upper Floridan aquifer and prevent adverse impacts to surface waters, wetlands, and groundwater from ongoing mining activities. All current and proposed water use to maintain the water levels on the on-site dredge lake and processing is provided from water from the lower Floridan aquifer, not the upper Floridan aquifer. And there is a confining layer in between, so they're not connected. So pulling water from the lower Floridan aquifer is not drawing down the upper Floridan aquifer. And their consultant can provide a lot more detail on that if you wish. Vulcan also has implemented a monitoring network of groundwater in the area with the hydrologic conditions of the current mining as well as undeveloped area of Vulcan. Surface and groundwater data and conditions at this time indicate that, and this has been going on for a number of years, this monitoring, indicate that the lower Floridan aquifer production well does not affect the upper Floridan aquifer or the superficial aquifers, and therefore the wetlands and supporting and surrounding properties within 1 mile of the project should not be affected by this project. And again, I've touched on the fact that a total of the majority of, almost entire majority of all the wetlands and surface waters on site will be protected. Those that will be impacted will be permitted through Florida Department of Environmental Protection. And that the project does contain 197 acres of longleaf pine xeric oak habitat pursuant to a policy in the adopted comp plan. The applicant is going to protect 25% or 49.4 acres of that vegetative community. Pursuant to Section 302.3.1 of the Land Development Code, the applicant has submitted a mining master plan permit application. The master mining permit application provides for a phasing plan, environmental assessment, geotechnical and archaeological assessment, a traffic impact study, and a conceptual reclamation plan. And just to give you an idea, that's what this document is. And so related primarily to the rezoning, staff finds that the proposed rezoning is consistent with the future land use designation, consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the adopted comp plan, and Section 203.17 and Section 302.31 of the Land Development Code. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the rezoning, and staff recommends approval of the rezoning from agriculture to mining for the requested or the subject 789.34 acres. As it relates to the rezoning, do you have any questions of staff at this time?
None.
Would the commission, and I don't know if the county attorney would object, could I just move into the master mining permit presentation at this point, or would you like, you need to take 2 separate votes, but what would be the preference?
Yeah, I mean, there does have to be 2 separate actions, but I see no reason why you couldn't give that presentation at this point, so all questions can be addressed before moving forward. I mean, if the board were to not approve the zoning, then they wouldn't take action on the master mining permit, but it might be appropriate unless the applicant has any objections.
Okay.
All right. Just give me a second.
Mr. Chair, when he looks back up, I do have a question.
All right.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Lible had a question
I
for
just
you.
have one, Mr. Brown, if I could. On the reclamation plan that's submitted, it doesn't have a timeline. Can you have anything that would indicate?
It's part of the master mining permit presentation.
Let's go for it.
Okay. The applicant request is all the same. The description is basically the same. You've seen the conceptual site plan. I've gone over the highlights of that, the aerial, master mining, the zoning. The Land Development Code sets forth in Section 302.31 the supplemental regulations for mining activities in the county. They include mining operations shall only be allowed on property where both the mining future land use and mining zoning district are in place. Requires the submittal of a master mining, or requires the issuance of a master mining plan permit and the final development order from the county prior to commencing any mining activities. It requires a phasing schedule and a reclamation plan. Part of the process, and just quickly go over the process. There has to be a mining master plan application which has been submitted. The master mining plan is reviewed by the Development Review Committee that reviews the proposed development effects on public facilities, service, and any other comments regarding compliance with the Land Development Code. It requires the Board of County Commissioners to issue a preliminary development order granting the mining master plan permit, stating any conditions of approval, or denying the application, stating the basis for the denial. There are 3 items set forth in the Land Development Code that must be included in any approval of the preliminary development order, and that includes the applicant shall obtain all appropriate permits and approval from state and federal agencies, provide appropriate financial assurance in the form approved by the Board of County Commissioners that ensures completion of the approved reclamation plan and a reasonable time frame for completing any and all conditions. In analyzing the proposed application against the requirements of the code, the applicant has submitted a master mining plan application. The application provides for a phasing plan, an environmental assessment, geotechnical and archaeological assessments, a traffic impact study, and a conceptual reclamation plan. The mining master plan application was reviewed by the Development Review Committee on August 29th, 2018. The future land use designation is mining, and although you haven't voted, assuming that the zoning is changed to, is approved to change to mining, then the zoning will be consistent also. Again, the project has direct access onto State Road 100. There's adequate capacity on State Road 100. This project would not adversely impact State Road 100. The Gopher Tortoise Burrows, I touched on the rezoning, so I won't go back over that. We also went over the groundwater and monitoring issues. That is the same. And also the protection of and the preservation of 99% of the on-site surface waters and wetlands, and the 49 acres of vegetative community, the oak, xeric oak habitat. The reclamation plan that was submitted is designed to meet the reclamation standards of Chapter 62C 39 of the Florida Administrative Code. Just to let you know that part of the requirements is they will have to submit to the county approval from DEP for that reclamation plan. So there's not only the county has to approve it, we will not approve it until that reclamation plan until after DEP approves it. The reclamation plan involves the reshaping and revegetation of disturbed areas. Revegetation of the site will include planting of grasses, shrubs, trees, and/or native vegetation or agriculture or silviculture crops suitable to the area. Topsoil that is available on site will be stockpiled for use in the reclamation process. There is a draft preliminary development order which you are asked to approve. I just want to touch the highlights of those, of the conditions that are brought forward and recommended in the preliminary development order. Again, the applicant shall shall obtain appropriate permits and approvals of state and federal agencies. They will provide financial assurance in a form approved by the Board of County Commissioners that ensures completion of the approved reclamation plan. Final development plan will be submitted to the Director of Planning and Development Services, or let me go start that one over. The final development plan will be approved by the Director of Planning and Development Services Department, be submitted and approved no later than December 31st, 2023. There's no blasting or dewatering associated with this project. Wetlands impacts will be limited to the northeast tract as shown on the conceptual site plan. 25% of the longleaf pine xeric oak community will be preserved. Listed species, all listed species that may have habitat out there will be surveyed pursuant and with the guidelines of both the federal and state standards and agencies. Final determination from the Division of Historic Resources will be submitted. Reclamation, and this is to get it to respond to your question, Commissioner Leibel. Recreation of a given phase or mining area will be completed within 24 months of completion of the mining operations in that area. So if they're in one of those areas, the north or the southwest one, once they're completed in there, they do a lot of follow-up, but as soon as they're completed there, that area will be reclaimed within 24 months completely. And this was one of the big issues that we heard at the Planning Commission was noise, specifically from the trucks backing up at 4 in the morning, that beep beep noise. The applicant has, since the Planning Commission hearing, the applicant has worked with the National Mining Safety Agency, and they've come up with alternatives and removed the beeping backup noise, replace that with white noise backup alarms that is presently have been implemented but will be utilized in place of the beeping backup alarms, along with backup strobe lights to be installed for use during the nighttime operation hours. Also, the applicant has committed to a vegetative buffer on the portion of the southeast tract that is adjacent to County Road 315. Right now, that area is
Wide open.
barren, it's basically a field. They will actually vegetate it with trees and vegetation to provide a bit of a visual buffer. They've also committed to put in place a 10-foot earthen berm on any property line, on their property, of course, adjacent to any property line on any parcel that contains a residential structure currently or in the future. So if there's a parcel that today it doesn't have a residential unit on it, but in 5 years somebody puts a residential unit on it and their mining operations will impact that area adjacent to it, they will implement a 10-foot earthen berm. And that was something they actually volunteered that subsequent to the Planning Commission, just to let you know that. So staff finds that the master mining permit application provides a phasing plan and environmental assessment, geotechnical, archaeological, and traffic impact study and conceptual reclamation plan as required. The information in the mining master plan permit application is in conformance and compliance with the requirements of section 302.3.1 of the Land Development Code. The property subject to the master mining permit application is designated mining on the future land use map, and given the board approves the rezoning, will be mining a zoning designation. As I indicated, this did not go master mining plans do not go before the Planning Commission. It comes directly to the Board of County Commissioners. So there is no recommendation from the Planning Commission on this item. There was, as I indicated, on the rezoning. However, staff recommends approval with the conditions provided of the resolution to grant the preliminary development order for a master mining permit on 789.34 acres as described in the application submitted by Florida Rock Properties, Inc. and Florida Rock Industries, Inc. Any questions of staff?
Mr. Harvey?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Brown. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 10-foot earthen berm now and in the future, is that in the setbacks of the 100 feet and the 137 feet?
Yes, it would be.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
Just one. on
Okay,
the-
Mr. Locke.
You good?
Go ahead.
Okay. On the topsoil, Mike, it says that it's available, will be stockpiled on site. Is it 100% of the stock, of the topsoil? Do you
That's
know?
my understanding. The applicant will probably respond to that better, but that's my understanding, yeah.
Okay, well, I'll wait till then, that's important.
Mr. Turner?
What is the form of assured payment that we're requiring from them for the reclamation?
Yeah. As it exists today, they submit, Vulcan submits, and I may have to defer to Tracy on this or someone else, but they submit a financial report to the planning department to verify that they have the ability to make, as a company, to reclaim the property. And it's my understanding they intend to continue to do that, submit that financial report annually, that the company has the resources to undertake any and all reclamation that's required.
So we haven't
It's a
ever-
little different than what we require, we have required primarily for borrow pits. We have the same condition. A lot of times for those smaller projects with the smaller companies, the board has required a bond to be set aside. I can't tell you where that requirement for Vulcan came from because it was before my time, and I haven't been able to find any documentation in the old files, but that is how it's being handled today. Again, I believe that's their intent to try to continue that. Of course, the board can put any condition on the master mining permit that they desire. And if they desire a different approach, we can do that.
Well, I want to hear from the applicant, and then I'll
Okay.
say some more on that.
Okay. So any other questions for Mr. Brown? Okay. Is the applicant here?
Mm-hmm. I know you do.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Brenna Durden. I'm a land use and environmental lawyer with the firm of Lewis, Longman and Walker. I'm one of the authorized agents for the rezoning application and for the master mining permit application. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to meet with you today. Although I know that you will be voting separately on the rezoning and on the master mining permit application, I'd like, if it's acceptable to you, to blend my comments much as Mr. Brown did. He did a great job of giving you a lot of details about the project, so I'm not going to take up your time and repeat those. What I would like to do is initially provide you with a copy of a brochure that Vulcan provided to all landowners within 1,500 feet of the project site. If I may approach.
Is it different than the one that's in our packet already? I think there was one in our packet, one of your folders.
I'm not, is it the same?
We included
Okay.
that as in
Let
your
me give
packet.
these to her, and then she can
Okay.
send them down the line.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to initially introduce the team to you. First, from Vulcan is Tracy Johns. If you'll just raise your hand. She's the project manager and has led the team for the entire project. I also want to acknowledge some of our Putnam County team and their families who are here in the audience. And they have those wonderful Vulcan shirts on. It's easy to spot.
Must not be digging much sand today.
Yeah. From Kleinfelder. Kleinfelder is our water and environmental scientist consultant. We have Lisa Doherty, Cheryl DeCrenza, and Elliot Mallard. And hopefully yes, good, thanks. From Peters and Yaffe, who is the traffic engineer, we have Wayne Patrone. There's Wayne. And from Fishkind and Associates, the economic development consultant is Stephen Schriever. So now about the applications. As you know, the Vulcan Materials Grandin Sand plant has been in operation for a very long time. In fact, since 1986. Vulcan appreciates doing business here in Putnam County, a county that has demonstrated that we can be pro-jobs, pro-economy, and pro-community, and that we can do all of that together in a responsible way. The proposals that we have submitted simply allow the operation to continue as it has since 1986 within the current property boundary. The applications are thorough and consistent with the requirements of Putnam County. In fact, the rezoning request is consistent with the future land use map and the other elements of your comprehensive plan, as recently determined by the Development Review Committee, the county staff, and on September 12th by the unanimous decision of the Planning Commission after its review and of testimony and holding its public hearing. In regards to the master mining permit, as you heard from Mr. Brown, the county staff in its report recommends approval of the resolution to grant the preliminary development order for that master mining permit, finding that it is consistent with the Land Development Code as well as the comprehensive plan. Vulcan will maintain the status quo of this operation, which is good for the entire community. It generates economic benefits, jobs, and revenue, not only for the businesses and the citizens in the county, but also for the county itself. As described in the Fishkind economic analysis, this mining plan that Vulcan has proposed will allow Vulcan to continue to generate $6.8 million in economic output for Putnam County each year, and it supports 763 people in the local construction industry. That industry has an annual economic impact of more than $100 million. Vulcan will continue to do this responsibly. The team has a tremendous amount of experience on the site and takes great pride in the Grandin Sand Plant and its work with the community. I want to note that Vulcan has actively been communicating with the community about this project. We've sent letters to neighbors, and we have posted a special website. We created a special website containing lots of information about the proposal. The team has been and remains committed to working with the neighbors. In fact, in direct response to feedback that we received since announcing the project in July, including those comments from neighbors made during the Planning Commission meeting, Vulcan has offered to include 3 new conditions. These were not conditions that staff asked us to provide. We voluntarily offered to make them part of the master mining permit. First, Vulcan will upgrade its safety backup alarms on mobile equipment to white noise and nighttime strobe lights. In fact, as you heard from Mr. Brown, that Vulcan has actually already implemented this change on the site as of the end of September. Number 2, prior to any mining activities in the southeast tract, Vulcan will build a vegetative buffer on the land adjacent to Highway 315. And number 3, Vulcan will construct the 10-foot earthen berms where mining activities occur within 500 feet of any property line to an adjacent parcel that contains a residential structure. And as Mr. Brown noted, that is whether there's a residential structure there today or there's a residential structure is built in 10 years. It will be and has been made a part of the resolution that is before you. Each of these, as I said, each of these conditions would now become part of the mining permit, and they are listed in your resolution. I think it's, I can't remember, RS and T, or the last 3, I think, are those. Overall, the knowledge and experience of the Vulcan team and the proven track record of working with the community form the basis for seeking your approvals today. In conclusion, as determined by a unanimous vote of the Planning Commission, the rezoning request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and it complies with the applicable provisions of your land development code. In regards to the master mining permit application, as you've heard today, county staff has determined that the proposed permit meets the requirements of your land development code and they have recommended approval of the preliminary development order for the master mining permit. We are in agreement with all of the conditions that are listed in that resolution. Hundreds of people have expressed their support for this project in writing. In fact, as of maybe about a week ago, the county had received over 220 written letters of support for the project, and I'm going to give those to her so they're part of the record. On behalf of the entire team, we appreciate your consideration and respectfully request that you approve both the rezoning and the master mining permit. We are very glad to answer any questions that you may have, and I want to thank you for your attention and time. Thank you.
I know we had questions.
I do.
I have
Mr. Durden, my question, Mr. Brown, was about the earthen berm within
Yes.
the 100 feet or the 137 feet. But it seemed like in your presentation, you went out to 500 feet. So could you clarify that for me?
Yes, I could. The 500 feet is if there is mining that comes within 500 feet of a property line where there is a residential, where there is a residence, whether it's there today or not. If our mining activity comes within 500 feet, then we will build that earthen berm. That is, and again, that is not in the setback area.
Right.
It's in the, it's on the land that could be mined, but we won't obviously be mining if there's an earthen berm there.
Okay, so for clarification, it won't be in the setbacks, and that was the question I asked Mr. Brown. It'll be on your property, so you'll have a berm, and then you'll have 137 or 100 feet of
Correct.
cleared property. Well, not
Well,
cleared, but
not-
forest property.
The setback area
Gotcha. Well, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. That's the only question I have for you, Mr.
Okay, Mr. Lible?
If I could get Ms. DeCrenza and Ms. Daugherty, are y'all the environmental agents? Did I hear that right? I got a couple questions, if I could.
Do you want to try to answer?
Yeah, I might be able to answer your questions if you'd
Okay.
like. This is Tracy. I'm Tracy Johns, Vulcan Materials, 10151 Deerwood Park Boulevard, Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay, Ms. Johns, on the topsoil, what percentage of what's removed is retained for the reclamation?
The process works like this. When we move into a new area, we remove the vegetation that is there, and then the topsoil is pushed to the limits that we're going to mine. And that is left there for safety purposes, you know, and then when mining is complete, the topsoil is then used as a final cover.
So in your opinion, it's 100%?
I wouldn't say 100%, is probably close to.
Close to, can you give a number?
90%.
Okay, thank you. And then, I know Mr. Brown explained the lower aquifer and the upper aquifer. If I could just get a brief explanation again.
Sure.
No disregard there. But
Sure.
I want insurance that the upper aquifer is protected by your measures you're practicing on the lower.
Yes, sir. So, as Mr. Brown explained, recently we installed what is called a lower Floridan aquifer well. That well is 1,250 feet deep. It replaces the well that we had operated previous to the new one, which was set in the upper Floridan aquifer at about a depth of 280 or so feet.
Okay.
So it's a much deeper well. So at the Grandin Sand Plant, you have the surficial aquifer and then the upper Floridan aquifer. Then you have a confining layer and then the lower Floridan aquifer, which is where our well pulls water from, the lower Floridan. So that confining layer serves to protect the upper Floridan aquifer, so any withdrawals that we make from the lower do not affect the upper.
So you won't experience, or the area lakes won't experience a drop in elevation?
No, sir. In fact, this project was identified by St. John's River Water Management District as a project to help them achieve their prevention and recovery strategies for their minimum flows and levels for Lakes Brooklyn and Geneva.
Thank you. I feel good.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Could you tell me approximately how many acres that you have at one time that are not reclaimed, that are just being mined? I mean, do you mine 100 acres at the time? Do you mine 400 acres at the time, and then you're getting some ready and you're putting some back? I mean, I'm not trying to find out exactly, but
Okay.
approximately how many acres do you have in flux at any one time?
Okay, thank you. I understand your question now. Our footprint is generally around 30 acres that are active at the time. That's our dredging area and areas that are in preparation for dredge progression.
That's small, huh? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To follow up on Commissioner Libel's question on the lakes, we went out to the ribbon cutting that you had, a few of us did, and I don't know if it was in direct response to the lakes. It was a misconception out there that the lake levels were dropping due to mining. We learned that was not true based on the hurricanes that came through back in the end of 2017. You know, we told people we had a burn ban on in June, and we did, 2017, and all of a sudden, within 68 days, my dock had 7 feet of water at the end of it, which it was dry land. So we were in a drought, and I'm still flooded at my property. The lake has come up, and thank God the lake came up. We get to use our resources now. But the lower aquifer was to protect any misconception that was out there. And that's not the only lower aquifer wells in that area. There's some up in the Postmaster Village in Gizmo in Clay County that were put out there to look at those water levels and what they were doing to the lakes in that environment, and really weren't doing anything. So, but we were out there and we appreciate the tour, and that was a great project with you and Water Management to making sure that our lakes are protected out there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir, Mr. Pickens.
I also attended the ribbon cutting for the deep water well, the lower aquifer well, and thank you for the refresher course there. It seemed like it was a positive thing for that operation, and the tour is very interesting to see how you operate out there. Backup alarms are very noisy, and it said y'all replaced these with a white light. Can you explain that a little more? And all the equipment, I said there will be no beepers at all?
No, sir, the traditional beeping backup alarms are gone. They are not on our equipment. They've been, for nighttime hours, we'll use a strobe light, a backup that will flash light when the equipment is backing up. And during daytime hours, we have what's called a white noise backup alarm. And as the name implies, it's meant to utilize a frequency and a pitch that is intended to kind of blend into background noise. So it's not as noticeable as a beep would be. It kind of sounds like a crunch.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Can you duplicate that noise?
You're running over
Since this is being recorded, no, sir, I would prefer not to.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm good.
I'm good, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to open up for public comment for or against. Now, actually, I have, Tracy, before you sit down, I have a card for you. Tracy Johns?
Oh, I was filling it out for.
Okay. Right. Okay.
You're just following the rules.
Okay. I have a card here. Okay, so I have John Davis. Again, hold it to approximately 3 minutes. Name and address.
John Davis, 4715 Northwest 42nd Street, Gainesville, Florida. Thank you for the invitation to speak. To the west of the proposed rezoning is the Ordway-Swisher Biological Station, and I'm director of this station. And so we manage the property under a conservation easement with the Nature Conservancy. We also have a 30-year research contract with the National Science Foundation, so it's a vibrant research enterprise. At nearly 10,000 acres, we monitor the entire property closely for invasive species, which is our major concern about the proposed mining of the adjacent property. So there are several non-native plants, such as Kogan grass, that can thrive in mined sites, and that can create seed that comes onto adjacent properties. So in response to our concerns, we met with Tracy Johns and with Bill Newland from Kleinfelder at the station. And we agreed to meet on a regular basis to discuss shared interests. And we found that we had many. They were very productive discussions. We also committed to develop a written agreement between Vulcan and the University of Florida to monitor and manage invasive species near the boundary, with the understanding that this would be a long-term commitment by both parties to remain engaged and protect the ecological integrity of conservation lands in the county. We were also pleased to learn that mining near our boundary was planned in the 25 to 30 year time horizon, which makes it all more important that our agreement be long-term. So as director, I just want to say, as director of the Ordway-Swisher Biological Station, many of my concerns have been addressed by productive discussions with Vulcan, and I look forward to continuing those discussions in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Obviously not.
I do, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind.
Okay, yes,
I have
please.
a statement. Mr. Davis, thank you so much for working with. It's refreshing to see parties get together prior to coming here. Most of the time, that does not happen like that. And I do appreciate the fact you're over on 26. I know exactly where you're at. And I appreciate the ability that you and Vulcan worked out a conversation, to start a conversation for the future of the lands. And that's refreshing. I just want you to know that, because we don't always get that. We don't always get that. Usually it's people who stand up, who've never talked to them, who've never entered in a conversation and demand something from us. That's not what you're doing, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Doug Williams?
Hello. I've never done this before, so my name is Doug Williams, and I live at 120 Deep Lake Road in Melrose is the address, but it's northwestern Putnam County. If I could have a map up there, I could kind of tell you what I'm talking about. I own a 30-acre parcel that juts into the current northeastern section of their development that they're proposing. I've been told by Tracy Johns that the most northeastern portion was not going to be developed. It was going to be kept into in its current state. And my question is, if that's true, why are they changing the status from agricultural to mining? And I'm also concerned about the intrusive 100-foot border. There's a pipeline that runs along there, and I've been told there's not enough setback for them to do anything with it. So I guess I have a question as to why are you changing it from agricultural to mining if you're not going to use that portion at all? Why not just leave it in its current state, in its current classification?
Mr. Brown. Okay, did you, excuse me, go ahead.
Well, I don't want to speak for Vulcan, but with the adoption of the master mining permit and the conceptual site plan, that conceptual site plan has that area designated for no mining activities and preservation. So you get that added protection through the master mining permit and the adoption of this conceptual site plan for that long-term protection.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm speaking from a staff standpoint now, my interpretation, and not trying to answer the question for Vulcan. But I believe you get the additional protection because the county now has will issue a master mining permit with incorporating this conceptual site plan. So as long as that master mining permit is in place, there will be no activities, mining activities in that area. It'll be preserved.
Yeah.
My question is, what assurance do you have of that? Because once you change the classification from agricultural to mining, that assurance is gone. All you have to do is submit another plan. I'm not an expert at this, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
If you want to keep it in its current state and you want to do that, why can't your plan leave it alone with that designation? Just give it the designation and leave the classification the same.
Mr. Brown, may I
Yeah.
ask you? Again, I think this is another layer of protection for that. This is a diagram over a piece of property, and they're saying they're not going to touch that. His question is, if they come back another day, then we'll have another public hearing. But right now, with this included, they can't touch that property. If it was left out, we could come back another day and include that in. But
Yeah,
right now, it's included in there as we're not going to touch it. So there's a lot of protection there for this gentleman's concern.
I believe so.
I believe so too.
So my understanding is that you're saying that by changing it to mining and including it into a master mining plan, it's better than leaving it the way it is for?
That's my understanding, and that's Mr. Brown's position.
So they can never change their master mining plan.
I can't say never, but that would be something Mr. Brown can address.
Yeah,
I mean, this is what they've told me, and I'm not
Yeah,
doubting any of it, but people come and go, and 10 years down the road, they might say, well, we don't need their permission anymore. We've already got it back here.
I think they included that in there to protect you.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying, is
that's the
I'm
inclusion
confused
that
by
they-
the whole thing. It's just,
They included that in there to protect you.
all right. And I guess they addressed most of the other concerns that the other residents in the area that I've spoken with, which were the noise and the groundwater and things of that nature. I never got a copy of that master plan either, and I'm one of the property owners that's probably the closest to their line.
Would you like mine? I'll get another one if you.
Well, I'm just saying, they said they supplied them to everyone, and I never received one.
Advertisement for Vulcan.
I do believe that'll be made available. Am I in?
Well, I'm not doubting that, I'm just letting you know that they said they gave one to every property owner, I didn't get one. And I've been in
If I
touch
could,
with them
Mr.
quite a
Yes,
bit.
sir.
If I could, Mr. Williams, I'd like to add something for your comfort, I hope. But in the Florida Land Development Codes, this is a public hearing today establishing the boundaries that they can do their work in and protecting you. And if they were to change that and go into the area that's offered protection for you, it would require another public hearing.
Okay.
And you're protected by that. You just have to, when you
They
see
have
the
been very
bright
good
colored
about-
signs on the highway, you need to engage
They've
if that
been
happens.
very good about communicating with me, and
Yes,
they've been very, very cooperative and whatnot. I've been confused by this issue since the beginning, is why change it if you're not using it?
Well, we want you to be comfortable and a part of this.
Okay, so the assurance is that they say that part of their mining plan, they're not going to utilize that, and they can't, and they won't. And if they do, they have to come back and ask for permission again.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay, I have a card from Miss Durden. Obviously, you, okay. I'm just double checking. Okay, and I'm not even gonna try to pronounce this last word, but Alicia? I'm sorry. Okay, so you don't need to, if you want to speak, you need to come up forward.
I have the same exactly
Pull that closer to you.
question what the gentleman said.
Ma'am, pull that microphone closer to you. State
Okay.
your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Alicia Shafanik, and I live on 101 Parent Church Road in Melrose, Florida. So my question was the same exactly what the gentleman asked about the mining changing for. And they saying in the piece of paper there be only 300 feet, not 500 feet, what she told. The property right by me, 300 feet gonna be the whole stuff, down. So I believe this have to be changed to 500 instead 300 by my property. Because I have a piece of paper which saying 300 only.
Okay. Yes, sir.
You're on the north side of 100, though.
Yes, I am.
That's not affected by you whatsoever, so they're on the south side of 100.
So why is 300?
No, I think I can
Okay,
explain.
okay.
You've got a letter announcing or notifying of the hearing. We send out all property owners within 300 feet of their property got that. So the reason it says 300 is because your property is within 300 feet of their property line. Every landowner within 300 feet got a letter. That's where that 300 feet came from.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Yes, sir. Uh-huh.
Well, you got one more, go ahead.
Yes.
Read
Yeah,
it.
I have Ms. Thompson.
Right.
I'm gonna build a fire.
Good morning. My name is Susan Douglas Thompson, 160 Comer Farms Road, Grandin, Florida. I'm here to plead that you don't allow this to continue. My property has about 2,000 feet.
Get closer to that microphone.
Sorry, thank you. My property has about 2,000 feet that borders the CN mine. I was there in 1982, and my husband and I built a home, and we had hoped to be there for the rest of our lives. However, with the sand mine coming in 1986, we have had the trucks, the noise, and now they want to join us even closer. Our property is zoned ag. We moved from Jacksonville 30-something years or 40 years ago to enjoy the agricultural property, and I find us owning property next to a sand mine. I have tried to contact Mr. Brown several times to no avail. I've left my phone number, trying to get some answers, once again, to no avail. I believe I've spoken to Nancy in the office, again, to no avail. 35 years ago, I stood before the commission and asked that this not be allowed. They agreed. They voted this should not be allowed in Putnam County. Somehow, it managed to come in regardless. I don't know how that happened. The word was that the attorneys had said that they would sue you individually. I'm not sure what it was, but I've lost a lot of faith in the system. However, I'm here again, 35 years later, to plead with you. I'm only on that little piece on the Upper East. There's other families that live around me in an agricultural environment. I don't know why we didn't receive the protection that I thought the commission could give us, and that is why they voted against it. Now I come back, and to many people I've worked with here before, and I just ask, I'm pleading that you don't allow this to happen, at least in the Little East Side where I'm at. It's a very small portion. I don't understand why they have to go to the extreme ends of the property, why that can't remain agricultural. Furthermore, in my 35 years of experience, they are supposed to be claiming this property, as I've understood, every 2 years. I don't believe anything has ever been reclaimed. Maybe it's never been completed. I don't know, but I hope that y'all will consider this and consider what you want for the future of this county, because this is having multiple effects. Furthermore, with and I know that everyone's trying to deal the best they can with the water, but the people across 100, across from the sand mine, are no longer able to get to their homes because there's so much water now in that area. I ask you to give this great consideration. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I might.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Mr. Chairman, what I've done is anytime a citizen says that they've contacted our office and hasn't heard back, I'd like for them to call me directly. Yes.
Right. And I will say that Tracy has worked with us. I mean, done what she can. But I'm hoping you can do more. And I ask you to vote your heart on this because you're affecting your citizens. Thank you.
All right. Any other public comment for or against? Okay. Seeing none, I'm going to close that portion.
Mr. Chairman, be appropriate to give the applicant an opportunity to rebut any issues that they wish to address at this point.
If they
Okay.
care to. So,
Oh, I think we can just answer any questions that you may have in regards to any of the public comments.
Mr.
Yes,
Bible?
did the last presenter have any documentation to the commission's actions she spoke of 35 years ago that you are aware of?
I don't
Mr.
have
Chairman,
any documentation.
I don't know that question's appropriate, Commissioner. I don't know that she would be around 35 years ago to know
Well,
what
that's
happened.
true, but
or any of that, and, you know, I don't believe or disbelieve the previous person that was up here, but I think we need to keep this in the present time. And I think Vulcan has been an outstanding neighbor and a member of this community for all these years. Every time you see an event around here, a charitable event, you see their name on that list of people that have donated to that charitable event. So, you know, I would just appreciate it if we could keep this in the present about what's actually going on if possible, and not take it back to what may or may not have happened 35 years ago.
okay.
Thank you.
I'll honor that, Commissioner, but I do have one more question. In the reclamation process, Mr. Brown stated that there were, your company, Vulcan, had to prove that they had the financial stability to cover that reclamation at the time. Can you elaborate on that any? Is it escrowed? Is it who oversees it, DEP?
Well, DEP definitely has the same requirement for financial ability to show that you could do, the company could do the reclamation. And all of the reclamation, by the way, not just a portion. And what Vulcan has been doing is providing the certified financial statement on an annual basis to the county and to DEP. And based upon that, both DEP and the county have said that's an adequate financial assurance. In fact, your code allows for that currently. Sure. That is one of the ways that a company can show financial assurance, is the certified annual financial statement. So, and Mr. Brown was correct. That is what we would like to be able to continue to do. It's a review every year. You have the opportunity to review it, make sure that you believe that it's adequate. Same with DEP. If that were to change in the future, and that there was some concern in the future that that statement didn't give you the financial assurance that you're looking for, then you have the option under your code to provide a different type of financial assurance.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Reason I kind of brought that up earlier about possible bonds or whatever, and then I asked the question about how many acres they had open at one time. 30 acres, while it's big if you live on a lot in town, is not very big in a mining operation. And so if they were having several hundred acres open at one time, I'm sure DEP would also make them come up with a performance bond or something. But with them just having a 30-acre footprint at any one time that they're basically mining, and they're clearing in front of them, and they're reclaiming behind it or whatever, I just don't think that's big enough footprint at one time to require them to spend the cost that it would take to furnish a third-party bond to the situation. So that's just my opinion.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other
Good.
questions? Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Yes, sir.
that we approve R18-011, approval of the request to amend the zoning map from ag to mining for the 789.34 acres, subject to the request.
Okay. Do I have a proper first? Do I have a proper second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so I do have a proper first, proper second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Mr. Chairman, I'd also like to make a motion that we pass the preliminary master mining permit, MMP 18-001, approval of the resolution to grant the preliminary development order for a master mining permit, MMP 18-001, on 789.34 acres submitted by Florida Rock Properties, Inc. and Florida Rock Industries, Inc. to this request.
And I'll second that.
All right, so we have a proper first and a proper second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so moves. I'm gonna go ahead and give us a 5-minute recess, those that need to leave.
I can warm up.
I think we're done.
Okay. If you don't mind, could you either sit down or take that outside, please? Okay, we'll reconvene our meeting, and we'll move to our county administrator.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we just got, really just one announcement today. On November 13th, which is your next scheduled Board of County Commissioners meeting, we have we need to do a 505 that day following our workshop. We have a budget amendment that we need to do. It's a housekeeping amendment, close out fiscal year FY18. So if we could go ahead and just let the commissioners know that we'll need a 505 for that one. You also have scheduled that evening a BMAP discussion for the same time, and we'll just move that back following the 505 continuation for the budget amendment.
BMAP, correct?
Yes.
November 13th.
So, plan, if you would, please, to be here for 505 for a budget amendment.
Okay. All right. Is that it?
That's all I have, sir.
Mr. Manning's going to be quiet. Huh?
I am quiet. I have nothing.
Okay. All right, county commissioners, I will move to Mr. Lible first.
Okay, I want to hawk the Palatka Strong Pink Walk this Saturday. And it's at the riverfront at 8:30. It's for breast cancer awareness. I participated last week in Crescent City, and I want you to know I walked a 5K. I'm proud of myself. My feet were sore for 2 days. But anyhow, encourage everybody to come out. And of course, Police Athletic League will be hosting a festival at the same time. These two activities really kind of go together, but let's turn out for this. You know, I challenge each of my commissioners to come bring your tennis shoes and walk with me. How about that? You too, Commissioner Turner.
You're too nice.
He's just as good. That's all I have today, sir.
All right, Mr. Pickens.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment on the passing of a great Putnam County citizen, Mr. John Eubanks, four-term county commissioner, I believe, educator, former extension agent for, I think, Putnam County and St. John's. As Linda Myers said when she was going to run, John Eubanks came to see her. When I was running, I went to see John Eubanks because it was recommended to me by many, many people. And it was a great experience. I met him out at his little farm and came up, and he said, "Son, come in my office." And so we went in there and turned the air conditioner on. He got some tobacco out and started chewing it. He spit. We started talking about being a county commissioner. It was like talking to Father Time, just the experience that this man had in education, being a government official, and I truly feel blessed that I was able to talk to him before his passing. He talked about doing things right for the county. It was a big responsibility, representing all the citizens, not just the citizens in your district. But he also talked about being a statesman. And I just hope one day I'll be the statesman that John Eubanks was. So to Brian and Brad and the whole family, we'll keep y'all in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
Mr. Turner.
I have nothing today, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Hart.
Thank you. I want to echo what Commissioner Pickens said about Commissioner Eubanks. I was also went to the farm, and the same things happened. The air went on and the chewing tobacco went in. But one thing Commissioner Eubanks told me, he said, you know, you're going to make decisions, and you're going to make some right, and you're going to make some wrong. But you can only use the information that you have at the time. And I always appreciated the straightforwardness that he gave to me and the time that he allowed me to ask him questions and to go through that, because I really think it helped me become better than what I wanted to be or knew I could be, and listen a little bit more and talk a little less. And I know it's hard for me, but I try. So Commissioner Eubanks, thank you, and the Eubanks family for sharing him with us in this county for so long. This coming Saturday, Florida-Georgia game. It's Linda and I's 34th anniversary of our first date. So we'll be married pretty soon next year. What did you say?
He just offered his resignation.
Didn't like Florida-Georgia game? Well, good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no dogs.
But she's put up with me for a long time, and I do appreciate it. So tonight, Gator Club meeting, if y'all want to get there, golf course, and we'll have Dan Hicken in the county, and he'll be talking about all things Gator. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Yeah, there can't be too much good said about John Eubanks. As I'm hearing these, his bottom line is do what's right.
That's right.
Just do what's right, is what he basically said. And I feel good. I saw him not that long before he passed away, and he did tell me I was doing a good job, and that meant a lot to me. It meant a very lot to me. So the next thing I want to bring up, as I always say, get out and see Putnam County. It's a wonderful place to be at, and sometimes there are so many things going on. Last night was one of those where I needed to be at 4 places, and I just had to pick one. And my wife was gracious enough to go over and be at another one that I could not be at. But Miss Myers wanted to make sure that I read this. 9 a.m. Wednesday, which is tomorrow, they're having a coffee and conversation. That's going to be with Miss Myers and with Mr. Parker. And they're going to be at 321 St. John's Avenue, which is at the tax collector's office on the front side. And what they're talking about is the eligibility of the refund on the property taxes if your homestead had significant damage. And that's a very important thing, because if it had damages, then you will not have to be paying more taxes on that property. You're going to have some, you just won't have them all. So with that said, I think that is it. Our meeting is adjourned.